Alright, imagine this. You're the coach of a national rugby team, right? You've scouted this young player since he was a teenager. He's everything you want, elite size, skill, potential written all over him. The plan? Fast-track him to 100 Wallabies caps. Cut to 5 years later, and he's lining up against you in a Japanese jersey. That's not just a plot twist in a sports movie, that's the reality Australia's facing with Harry Hockings. And here's what cracks me up, this isn't some obscure benchwarmer we're talking about. We're discussing a guy who was supposed to be the backbone of Australian rugby for a decade. So how does a nation lose a player of that caliber to another continent? Let's unpack the madness. Let me tell you why this story fascinates me. On the surface, it's about one player. But dig deeper and you're looking at a systemic issue that could reshape the future of international rugby. Hockings isn't just some random defection, he's part of a growing pattern where Australia isn't just losing players, they're actively creating their own rivals. Think about that. The very system meant to cultivate Wallabies' talent is now functioning as a feeder program for teams like Japan. If that doesn't make you go, wait, what, you're not paying attention. Now, let's dissect the Hockings situation. This guy was the total package, 205 centimeters lock with skills that make coaches drool. Former Wallaby Sean McMahon compares him to Brodie Retallick and Sam Whitelock. That's not just hype. Those are two of the greatest locks in rugby history. But here's where it gets personal for me. What frustrates me is how preventable this feels. A contract dispute during COVID, a refusal to take a 60% pay cut, suddenly you've lost 3 potential superstars to Japan. Not because they wanted to leave, but because the system handled it like a car crash. But wait, this isn't just about money, is it? What many people don't realize is the emotional calculus these players face. McMahon mentions they're repaying the faith shown by other nations. That detail gutted me. These are Australians who felt abandoned when they needed support, so they redirected their loyalty where it was appreciated. It's not just about salary, it's about being valued as human beings, not just assets. And when you lose players that way, you're not just losing talent, you're losing institutional knowledge, leadership potential, and years of development. Let's zoom out for a second. This isn't isolated. We've got 5 Australian-born players facing the Wallabies now. Each has their own story, but they all share this common thread: Australia didn't fight hard enough to keep them. The Saitama Wild Knights pipeline? That's basically Queensland's junior system feeding Japan's senior team. Dylan Riley with 42 caps for Japan, that's more than most Wallabies earn. And Jack Cornelsen, son of a former Wallaby no less, accumulating 33 caps against his ancestral country. There's a Shakespearean tragedy vibe here that rugby fans need to be discussing more. Here's the part that keeps me up at night: this could be Australia's new normal. When you've got players like McMahon, who's only 32 and still eligible, openly saying he'd never switch allegiance, but not judging those who do. That's the ultimate indictment. It shows the system isn't just losing players, it's losing faith in its own people. And the scary thing? This isn't unique to rugby. We're seeing similar brain drains in multiple sports. Which makes me wonder, what are other nations doing differently that Australia isn't? So where do we go from here? Personally, I think this should be a wake-up call for rugby administrators. If you can't keep your own talent, how are you supposed to compete? But maybe there's a silver lining. Japan's success with these players shows that cross-cultural development can work. Imagine if Australia started importing that same mentality, valuing players as people, not just jerseys. Maybe then, we wouldn't be watching our future stars walk straight into our opponents' arms. What do you think? Is this a crisis or an opportunity? Let me know in the comments, because I'd love to hear your take on this rugby identity crisis.